Are we good now? I think we're good. Let's get some cats up in here. OBS crashed on me again, immediately. Like, as soon as I hit the go button, OBS was like, nah, I crash now. We have a rare budgie smuggler. There she is. We have a budgie smuggler. And saying her name has disturbed her. She's like, what the fuck, man? Why are you talking to me? Why are you talking about me? Hello, welcome, Kat and Maymay and Marie and Sylvia and Ray. Welcome, everybody. Budgie somewhat out of focus. Unfortunately, I don't have a way to like focus this camera. It's pretty much just like it likes a little more distance. Yeah, that kind of doesn't really help that much. It's great that I have those boxes in the background. That's pretty awesome. Hey, it's Jess from Fauve. Welcome. We're just admiring Budgie Smuggler to start with, as one does. Where's Sylvia? She's right there, dude. Maymay, you're number one, my friend. I think Sassy's probably gonna steal it from you, though. I do also have a Jammy Dodgers on the other container that she is often on. But I figured since we normally get to see Jammy Dodgers and not Budgie Smuggler, I thought y'all might like to get a chance to actually see Budgie Smuggler for once. So, it's nail art night. I am also going to be swatching out. So this is the Van Gogh Part 1. I am going to be pronouncing his name in the English style and not in the Dutch style. There is as I understand it, a Van Gogh Part 2 collection that is coming out. It is not on the website yet, but I believe it is coming soon. If I'm not mistaken, I could be a crazy person. Just let me know if I'm a crazy person, but I feel like I've been seeing rumors of that. Fauve is also coming out with some other very exciting stuff over the next little while. She's been teasing some Rothko thermals, which is just wildly exciting to me. I'm a huge fan of Rothko. And of course thermals are always fun, although thermals in summer, less fun for me as a person who runs hot. Just says 8/16, so that means August 16th, I think. Yes, August. I don't speak American. Yeah, August 16th. The Van Gogh Part 2 collection will be coming out. This is the Part 1 collection, which is still available and will be sticking around. I don't believe she has any plans to get rid of these anytime soon. So if you end up picking up the Part 2 collection or some other stuff, you can grab some of these along with them. Pre-orders open at noon Eastern time on the 16th of August for the Van Gogh Part 2 collection. But again, this is the Part 1 collection. So my disclosure, I did receive most of these in PR. There were a couple that I had actually purchased. But then I ended up doing some swatches. Those were paid. But this stream is just, I'm just doing it because it's cool and fun and I like the collection. So I'm not getting anything for doing this stream. So that's my disclosure. Someone remind me to do that again later on. But the big thing is going to be the nail art tonight. I want to do some kind of recreation of one or more paintings from Van Gogh using the collection. I did do, if you saw my swatches that Jess was posting on the Fauve Instagram feed, I did do little mini paintings, one per mani, just like one nail per mani. Which was a lot of fun, but I thought it would be fun to do something that's like across a full hand. Meme, that's right. You're going to be traveling on the West Coast. That's so confusing. You're going to be in the wrong time zone. But I wanted to also swatch them out on a swatch wheel, partly just so that I have them, but also partly so that you can see how they apply when you're just applying them to the nail. Because of course, when I'm doing nail art, it's a little different and you don't really get a good sense of how they apply normally. So I wanted to make sure that y'all got that chance. I did do one coat because we are going to need, these are all basically 3 coaters if you want them to be anywhere close to opaque. They're not designed to be a super opaque collection. This is very much designed to be an ethereal, light-filled sort of collection, much like Van Gogh's work, playing with light. And so, you need, for all the flakes and whatnot to sort of really show their dimension, you do need to have a more translucent formula. So they do need to be built up, and not all of them will be totally opaque, even in 3 coats, such as the nature of this type of formula. But I figured I'd get a head start and just do that first coat, and then we can go through the different formulas as I swatch out in a couple more coats. You're a basic girl and say Starry Night. I mean, I haven't done Starry Night. I specifically avoided doing Starry Night when I was doing all the mini paintings. In part because other people have already done Starry Night so many times. But also I knew I was going to be doing a live stream and sort of thought that some people might be interested in doing a Starry Night thing for that. So we could certainly do Starry Night. It just, because it is a darker painting overall, it means that I probably am going to have to use more black, like a black creme to kind of work in some more depth for a lot of the stuff. It requires a little bit more planning to do something that has that kind of dynamic range in the contrast, but we can certainly do it. Ashley, hi, welcome. A new binder for organizing Pokemon cards. That's exciting. Ray suggests doing Wheatfield. I think I have that one in our bathroom. Actually, obviously not the original, but a print of it. Almond Blossoms, that's a beauty one for sure. Yeah, Starry Night is great. It's just it will be a little bit more complicated for sure. So each one of these polishes is inspired by a specific painting, which Jess has up on the website the painting that was the inspiration. I've got cat fur on this. Oh my god. So this one is Flare of Madness. And actually, let me get, maybe I can show. That's not what I want. Can we, give me a second here, yeah. OBS doesn't want me to select things. It's doing this thing again where it doesn't want me to it doesn't want me to change what the one source is. It just, like, when I'm actually live, it's like, nah, you can't add a new source, and also you can't change a source. So I can't show you the website, unfortunately. It's just not letting me do it. But yeah, this one is Flare of Madness. That's going to be complicated when I try to actually... I'm not going to be able to show you the inspo. God. I wonder if OBS needs to be updated or something. Second one here is Lunar Halo. And has this really nice, like, green shimmer, but very much a yellow base. And I am kind of obsessed with this one because it changes from, like, more of an almost warm yellow to quite a cool, almost chartreuse, depending on the lighting. Next one up is Absinthe Minded, which is actually a glow-in-the-dark one. Yeah, it won't let me change scenes, and it won't let me add an element to an existing scene while I'm streaming. I probably should have checked that earlier. It might just be because of the crash. But I fear that the only solution would be to reboot OBS, and I really don't want to do that in the middle of a stream. So there's the second coat of Absinthe Minded. And then the next one up is one of two magnetics. This one is Peacock Moth. And this is actually one of the ones that I had purchased. I think it was Flare of Madness and Peacock Moth were the ones that I had purchased before Jess approached me about doing some swatches. I was like, obviously the orange and a magnetic blue and green. Yeah, for sure. Of course I'm going to buy those. And we'll just try and pin this down so I can do the second coat here of Van Gogh, which is just a really lovely green, grassy green with an orange, sort of a red-orange shimmer. Next up we have Electric Reverie, and this one is a thermal. Of course, on my nails, it is going to only be in the warm state, but you can at least see the cool state on the swatch stick. But we're going to have to keep in mind for the thermals that they are going to be in their warm state when I'm actually wearing them on my hands. You spy a stained thumb? I mean, yeah, it's been like that for weeks. This yellow staining here, it's been like that for weeks. I don't even remember now what polish did that, but like the right thumb is unstained and just a completely different color. Okay, next up is Delirium. This is another glow-in-the-dark one, which is going to be right at the bottom of the screen here. I'm going to have to change the orientation of all this so that you can continue seeing the other ones as I go around. You can probably take it off the magnet now. And then we're going to need the magnet again down here in a minute anyway. You know, I also love the length of my nails right now, Meme, and I know that I have to clip them short soon, or not short, but like I have to take down some of this length soon because like this is extremely danger zone for me. This is when I'm starting to love the length of them. That's when I know that yeah, I'm in the danger zone. They're definitely going to break soon. So I was quite lucky to get through all my travel without a break. Cobalt Sky, this is the other magnetic in this collection, which is just absolutely stunning. I'm absolutely in love with this because of course I am, because it's a blue magnetic. Shut up. I'm not predictable. And then irises, this is another thermal. So again, we'll have to keep in mind that this one, when it's on my nails, is only going to be in the warm state. And same with Vanishing Violet. Which I think this one, the cool or the warm state is blue, if I recall correctly. I think. Can't remember now. Might have to look at my... I can't show on the website, so I have to just look at my own photos, I guess. Frailty. This one is a reflective. It's a pretty dense reflective formula, so it does definitely dry down, a little textured, and so if you're sensitive to that, it does want a glitter grabber or glitter smoothing coat. And then the last one is Fractured Light, which is more of a topper. A flaky topper, so I'm gonna put some black underneath this, but I really like this one because I feel like it really captures a lot of the vibe of that style of painting, between the reflective and the shifting iridescent shimmers. I feel like it's really... It feels a lot like the way that that Impressionist painters were capturing light in a lot of their paintings. So I'll just do a little swipe of black so you can see there. So the dominant color is going to be the blue in that flake when you have the when you have a dark color underneath it. But of course, with a light color, you're going to see more like corals and yellows and pinks and oranges and such. Vanishing Violet is Blurple in warm. Is that the one you mean? I think so. It sounds right. Okay. So that's the second coat. I am going to do a quick third coat on them so you can see what they look like fully built up. In the meantime, if there are other ideas for paintings, other specific paintings that that you think would be good options, then go ahead and suggest those. I'm going to do a poll with all the suggestions. But try and keep in mind the colors that we have available here when you're making your suggestion. I'm willing to add a little black creme, a little white creme here and there to sort of help enrich the colors a little bit, get a little more depth and lightness. But I don't want to be reaching outside of this collection. Other than doing a little bit of black and white. So that was basically the rules that I set for myself when I was doing the mini paintings while I was swatching these. My rule was basically only this collection plus little touches of black and white creme to help with definition only where needed. So most of the mini paintings did not have any black or white in them. Some had a little bit in a few spots. Field of Sunflowers. That could be a good option. It's Doomed Redshirt. Hello, welcome. We're just doing a quick third coat here on the swatch wheel before we get into some nail art. And I'm currently taking suggestions for which Van Gogh paintings I should try to recreate on my nails. The rules being that I'm using just this collection and maybe a little bit of black or white creme if required. The Pikachu Van Gogh or Sunflora Van Gogh. I'm not going to be doing any Pokemon. I can tell you that right now. There will be no Pokemon in this mani. I'm not vibing with Pokemon tonight. I need to be in the right mood for Pokemon. I need to be like psychologically prepared for Pokemon. So as you can see, most of these end up fairly opaque in the third coat. Some of them are not completely opaque in the third coat, but most of them are, at least most of the way there. Obviously, the flaky topper will not be, and also frailty doesn't quite get there. The magnetics, depending on the way you magnetize them, you can, especially with peacock moth, I found peacock moth done velvet is fully opaque, but done with a ring magnet, I can see just a little bit of translucency with it. But not with Cobalt Sky. Cobalt Sky is a little more opaque. But yeah, most of them get, if not fully opaque, pretty darn close to fully opaque with 3 coats. Certainly, you know, enough that any visible nail line doesn't bother me. Would the painting of his doctor with the foxglove be too complex? I can't think of that painting off the top of my head. I will have to look that up. Complex is not typically an issue. What is an issue is if there's so Starry Night, for instance, is a very dark painting. Would be challenging to get the depth and richness of it without sort of having a fairly complicated underpainting of black and white. Require a certain amount of planning. Obviously, because I'm sort of limited to the colors in the collection, paintings that you know primarily use these colors and use a decent range of these colors would be preferred. Let me look up what painting you're talking about, though. Portrait of Dr. Gachet, one of his last paintings. I'll probably recognize it if I see it, but... Trying to type when I can't see. Oh, that one. Okay, yes. Yeah, this one suffers from the same problem that Starry Night suffers from, which is just that I would have to do... It's not, you know, it's not not doable. It's just that because it's so dark, I would have to add a lot of black. So... garden... Hang on, let me find that one. Garden at... is it Arles? Oh, that's a nice one. That one. That one would be actually... That one might be a really good choice. Okay, so... God, I wish I could freaking show you. But it won't let me add... It won't let me add a source here. It's very annoying. Hang on. What if will it let me add a source here? No, it won't let me add a source to any of my scenes. Sorry. Yeah, I can't show you. You're gonna have to look it up yourself. Okay. So let's see. We've had Wheatfield. What's the actual name of that? Wheatfield with cypresses, Wheatfield with crows. Which one were you thinking of? Because he's done a few. There's one that's just Wheatfield. That one I did. Is that the one that you meant? And then what other suggestions did we have? Any of the Wheatfield ones would be good choices. Agreed, Absinthe Minded is a sick band name. I missed that earlier. Dun, 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 dun. I'm trying to scroll up and see. Oh yeah, sunflowers. You mean the sunflower? There's he's done a couple. There's a few sunflower paintings. Because there's like the sunflower, like the field of sunflowers, and there's like the like sunflowers in a vase where there's a few different iterations of that. So yeah, any of those would be doable. I feel like the field you would use more of the colors than most of the paintings, unless you did the, well, so he does have a couple of the ones in vases where they have like a blue background. So yeah, there's that. Ray, you're saying Wheatfield with crows. Okay, yeah, that would be a good choice. Wheatfield under thunderclouds. Kingfisher by the waterside. Let me look at that one. I don't know them all by name. Oh, okay, yeah. Yeah, that one could be cute. We could definitely do that one. Okay, I feel like that's enough options, because I think we can only do like 4 in a poll. So let us do a poll. Can I... Hello? Where poll? Start a poll. Okay, so do we want garden? Do we want Wheatfield crows? Do we want kingfisher? Do we want sunflowers? Vase. I can only do 4, so I'm gonna go ahead and start the poll with that. And y'all let me know what you want to do. Whatever wins, that's what we're gonna go with. Looks like garden is winning so far. I think I personally would go for garden because I think it has the nicest distribution of colors, and I haven't done it yet. Vote lurkers. Yes. Lurkers must vote. Oh my god, my glasses are so filthy. They're like streaky. I can't do anything about it right now. Actually, do I have... Ooh, I do have one. Let me see if I can degrease my glasses slightly while we have the poll going here. It looks like Garden is the winner. I'm going to go ahead and end the poll. Are there still 4 lurkers that need to vote? Oh yeah, Peacock Moth I did. I did Peacock Moth as one of my minis when I did the swatches for this collection, because each swatch I did one of the paintings or a little portion of one of the paintings on one nail. And so obviously I had to do Peacock Moth because it's me and it's a bug. But yeah, I've already done that one. The problem with that one is that for something like this is that it really only uses a few greens. It doesn't give quite as much sort of opportunity to use all the colors. All right, lurkers, this is your last chance. Vote now or forever hold your peace. I'm gonna let you look at some cats for a second. Come on. Hopefully I didn't make anyone too motion sick there. Yeah, I'm gonna call the vote. Looks like Garden is the winner. Everyone please admire Jammy Dodgers and her little beans. That's the best I can do. Such a good girl. Okay. So we have our 3 coats for all of these guys. So we have this for reference. I'm going to pull up my photo reference that I just looked up for this painting. Now, a lot of these are quite yellowed, but as we know, they would not have been originally. Let's open image in new tab. There we go. So I'm going to choose one of the sort of more bright versions of the image that have been digitally manipulated to remove some of the aging. Just FYI. So I'm trying to think too, because I need to like kind of have it be across several nails. I want to decide like what portion of it, because obviously I can't do the entire thing. I need to decide what portion of it I want to do for this. I do feel like maybe doing, because there's like buildings and a fence along the top with some cypress trees and some flowers and bushes and such. I feel like that might be good to do across these 4 nails. And then I can take a section of the path down toward the front of the painting to do on my thumb, which would bring in a few other colors that aren't as much in the other part. So we are going to be using a little bit of white and a little bit of black in a few spots to help with some structure for this. Because when you're working with more translucent shimmers for hand painting, things can kind of get very pale and blurred together. if you don't sort of plan it carefully. Uh-oh, I think I'm about to sneeze. Possibly. I'm going to give you Jammy back for a second. And also turn off the sound in case I actually sneeze, although it sounds like it might be leaving. She's such a good girl. Najwa, hello. Welcome. Jammy's precious beans that Cinna cannot touch. That was so funny. All right. Let's go. Let's frickin' go. I already have my base on. I think, let's see here. I'm going to start by putting in some of the fence structure along the back, because that's going to make my life a little easier if I just already have a bit of that. Maymay got me this cute little palette thing because she loves me. So I've been using it. Okay. Let's fucking go, sassy. All right. So I think I want to make sure I have enough below the fence line. They're like, it's more of a stone wall, I guess. I want to make sure I have enough below that that I can show a fair bit of garden. But I also want enough above it that I can have those cypress trees poking up. The cypress trees, I think, are going to be primarily on these two nails. So I don't care too much about like this being particularly tidy or perfect. This is just basically structure to help the colors pop better when I start applying those. And also part of the fence itself is fairly close to white, so there will be some sections where what I'll probably end up doing is putting fractured light, the flaky topper, over the parts that would otherwise be pure white, to give a little bit of interest and suggest that stonework and the way that so I don't know how familiar y'all are with Impressionist painting, but there's an idea about light and how you paint light and how you get sort of that dynamic effect, that sparkling kind of effect. And it turns out that, things that are white, you never really paint white, right? Like if you're painting a snowscape, yes, you're going to be using a lot of white, but you're not making a painting that's all white. You're making a painting that's blue and yellow and pink and all kinds of different colors, especially blue. You get a lot of blue in a snow painting. Because, if it was just white and gray, it wouldn't read as realistically to us, because that's not what light does in the real world. When it bounces around, it, reflects off of things. And so things take on different colors. And so Impressionism seeks to sort of capture that with different colors. And so, yeah, you're basically never going to have anything that's like pure white, even if it's pure white in real life. It might have a few sort of spots of white, but it's never going to just be painted in white. That's not ever how an Impressionist painter will do things. And in fact, there are a few styles of art where, of painting where you would not at least, sort of acknowledge that that scattering of light in the shadows and whatnot. So I guess we're doing art school while we're here. Yay. Okay, I think that's probably good enough because not much of it is actually going to be visible. The other thing that's going to have some white structure is the path. So I'm going to lay in, I think, just like this section on my thumb. Get a little bit of this is not really the brush for this, but that's okay. Get sort of a lighter area here where that path will be, and I don't care if it's at all straight because A, we're going to be refining things as we go, and B, there's going to be flowers and grasses and shit in front of that. Okay. So, let's at least get the white off of my skin as we go, though. Is it real stone or resin? It's resin. It's definitely resin. But I tested it with acetone, and it doesn't seem to degrade with moderate acetone use. I imagine it probably would if you like soaked it in acetone, but just wiping it off, it seems to be just fine. So yeah, it works well. I know that there are some like actual agate ones that people use, but we're not quite that fancy. All right, so I'm going to use Flare of Madness for the roof line, I think. And one of the things that, like, sometimes when I'm doing sort of detailed artwork, I tend to try to minimize my lines or minimize my brush strokes and do, very few strokes and keep them longer. But in the case of working with this kind of source material, I actually found that I was getting better results using smaller strokes and little dabs, and it more closely resembles the source material, because of course that's sort of also classic element of the Impressionist style. So you're going to see me, at the start as I'm laying in foundation stuff, I'm using, sort of mid-sized strokes, but as I go along, there's going to be a lot of just like little dabs. I think this roof line is actually a little more complicated than that, but we're not going to worry too much about it because I'm more concerned about getting the vibe right here. Looks like this part has like a triangular sort of section. So we will go ahead, and a lot of this is going to be covered up as well by trees and whatnot, but that's okay. Okay. we still paint it. You've had your resin thing for 3 years and it hasn't degraded? That's pretty good. Although you also do a lot of gel stuff, so you're not always using acetone, right? You'd also be like some of the time using alcohol and some of the time using acetone. Still impressive though. I know you certainly have not done any lack of nail art with lacquer. All right, so the next thing I want to do is go in and get a little bit of black for these cypress trees, which are not going to be completely black, but they are going to need some black structure. So they're not going to stay black, but they are definitely going to go through a black phase. Because I want them to have enough depth that structurally they will still be visible and stand out as dark elements once everything else is in. But they're gonna have like other stuff on top of them besides the black. Okay. And this part gets kind of, we're just gonna sort of blob in some dark stuff here and not worry too much about it. Just sort of trying to suggest some dark shapes. That are vaguely tree-like at the top. Or rather, vaguely cypress-like, because, of course, cypress trees are not like everything else. They have quite a distinct shape to them. You've used a good amount of acetone on it because you've only recently started doing more art with your gels. That does bode well. A black phase because once you go black. Oh, Marie. I'm sad to say we are going to be going back. Our black phase here is going to be temporary. But you know, we'll always know that deep down inside, we would not be able to get to the finished product without these beautiful black underpaintings. All right, and then we're also going to have a little bit of like a tree here that's like just sort of a little shrubby sort of weird tree. I'm just gonna suggest this here. All right. Happy little trees, Bob Ross moment, yes. All right, let me get some more acetone out here. Oof. And I don't think I'm really going to end up using a lot of black in this part. I do think there's like a couple little shrubs here where a little bit of structure will probably be helpful. But I don't want to do too much in this area because this is a fairly bright section of the painting up in the front. The child has been read to. Excellent, excellent. So far we have what looks like just a whole lot of ugly. Like someone did something terrible to my nails and they should probably be punished for it. But that's okay, because we're going to get there. I promise. This is all going to make sense eventually, I hope. I hope. You know, there is always the possibility that after doing all those little mini impressionist paintings on my nails, this is the one that I royally fuck up and that it's just going to look absolutely terrible. It could happen. Could totally happen. This could be the one. All right, I'm blobbing on some, this one is Lunar Halo. I forgot the name of it for a second there. So I'm going to just blob this in some areas where I want yellow to be sort of the dominant color. I mean, I could just use my natural nail color since she's pretty stained, but yeah. All right, we'll put some yellow in here and a little bit here. And I'm like being real messy with this because it truly does not matter at this stage. I'm just laying in some sort of big chunky areas where we're going to have a certain amount of yellow dominance. Okay. Need a little more of that yellow. Yeah, trust the process. Sometimes the process is not trustworthy, but you know, we're gonna just hope that it works out this time. Okay, so there's some yellow. I'm gonna start throwing in some greens. Now I could velvet magnetize this as I go, but I think for the sake of just being able to do it faster, and because I don't think it's going to add a ton to the finished product, I think I'm just going to go ahead and do Peacock Moth unmagnetized in here. Because yeah, I feel like it's not going to matter in the long run if this one is magnetized or not. I did find when I was doing the mini paintings on my nails that that in general it was hard to tell the areas where I had magnetized because so many of them were just like so small that it was just like, welp. Maybe it's magnetized, maybe it isn't. I don't know. Can't see. Can't tell. All right, we'll get some green in here. And we are going to have a fair bit of green, but we're also going to have like other colors of green. So I don't need all the greens to be this green. We got lots of greens to play with. And at this point, I'm kind of going a little bit off script in terms of how I'm like laying in the flowers and such. Like I'm not following super closely what the painting looks like for those, because I feel like as long as the sort of basic structure is there, it should work reasonably well. I hope. And if I'm wrong, then, you know, it just won't look as good. Or you won't be able to tell what it is. That's okay, though. I think it'll be fine still. Okay, I think this might be like an olive tree or something. It's kind of got that vibe here. This little guy. I feel like there should be some green shrubbery here. At some point in time, I should probably do something about this sky, huh? Probably should have done that earlier. Same process as oil painting from your studio art days, laying out the lights and shadows first. Yeah, pretty much. I never, so I used to do oil painting. That was actually the first kind of painting that I ever really took up was oil painting. That was my first love with paint, and which is not normal. You're not supposed to start with oils. It's weird to start with oils, But I started with oils, and I did not have any kind of formal training in how to use them properly, and so I just did whatever the fuck I wanted. And this, of course, was before the internet even existed. There was no World Wide Web. There were no websites. That wasn't a thing. You couldn't, if you wanted to learn something, you either had to learn it from a book, or from Bob Ross, I guess, or or from from another artist. But I, being a young teenager, I think I would have been like 12 or 13 or so, maybe 14 when I started doing oil paints. My mom would remember better than me. But yeah, I just went into it. Just jumped in feet first. Started doing oil paintings. Did not follow any rules. Did not know about underpainting. Did not do drying time between layers. Did not build up layers. I just basically treated it the same way that I'm treating this, actually. I've learned nothing in the intervening years. But I was mostly working doing miniatures, like postcard size sort of paintings. So it actually worked out all right for me, because you can kind of get away with a little bit more with oil paint when you're working small. If I'd been trying to do big paintings that way, I do not think that I would have stuck with it. But yeah, oil paint was my first artistic love. My process changes with every single bit of nail art I do, I think, too. I don't know. It does depend on like how I actually lay out my nail art for when I'm hand painting like this. Does depend on the type of polish that I'm using. Like, I would worry less about laying in the black and white at the beginning if I were working with fully opaque, high contrast polishes. But the fact that I'm working with things that have some translucency to them, and that have this like light scattering quality, means that I have to put in the foundation of dark and light first, or it will simply have no structure. It's How Not to Do Things Art School with Peggy. All right, so that was Almond Blossom that I did for the sky. The sky is sort of relatively uniform in this painting, so I'm just kind of letting it be simple. There's no rules in art, sorta. There are rules, but you're encouraged to break them once you've learned them, which I think is good. All right, let's do some different greens. I haven't done any of this green yet. This is Van Gogh. This has some orange in it as well because it's got that orangey shimmer. So I'm going to be laying this in partly down in the garden area here. But also I'm going to bring some into the cypress trees, especially where the cypress trees meet those yellow bushes, because I feel like that needs a little bit more support, because that yellow has a sort of a blue shimmer when it's over dark stuff. So, and I don't really want it to look blue there, so I'm hoping this kind of counteracts that a little bit. Yeah, that took out the blue. Good stuff. That's what I was hoping for. And then we'll add a little bit of this to our olive tree. And one of the things that I think just works really well when you're dealing with sort of this impressionist style is literally just to like build up so many layers, because you can't do too many dots of different color with impressionist paintings. You kind of just building up and building up and building up, and letting the colors interact with each other. They produce this sparkle and tension. You didn't get a notification, boss. I'm sorry. That sucks. Welcome. May. Are you romancing a Pokemon? Is that what's happening? I don't know how I feel about that. Okay, I should be telling you the polishes I'm using. This one's absinthe minded. This is one of the glow in the dark ones. So it gives this nice little pop of like sort of neon adjacent. So I want to be sort of a little bit sparing with it. But it is definitely nice to add into the mix. And I think actually I'm going to have just a few little bits of that in here. Although it does have the blue, so I need to be a little careful that I don't overdo it with that. All right. Next. This is a thermal. Oh, you know what I haven't been doing is I haven't been keeping up with doing this nail at all. Not at all. This one I wanted to do with this. The Van Gogh. And I wanted a fair bit of Van Gogh over here. I'm going to need more Van Gogh. Ah! Mixing my colors. To evolve Budew, you need to have max friendship. See, this is why I cannot Pokemon. All right, lots of Van Gogh in here. I also wanted to add some peacock moth in this, but I'm just gonna have to go back and do that. And kind of just working in a lot of different greens right now. The flowers are going to get added on mostly afterward. Because they will, they'll need the support of all of that green under them to really pop properly. Bum, 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 bum. Okay. There's that. All right, where was I? Right, Electric Reverie. Let me just do the neighbors are thumping. I thought that said the neighbors are humping for a second there. I just got to look up and see which thermal the Electric Reverie is, because I want to make sure I know what it's going to do. On my nail. This is collections, Van Gogh collection. I think it's down near the bottom. Nope, there it is. Okay, so this one goes light green. Perfect. Okay. It's actually, I think it might be like slightly mid transition at the moment. I think it's slightly greener than it is when it's fully cold. All right. Where's my reference photo again? Here we are. All right. So this one, a light blue to, or more of a teal blue, I guess, to a light green thermal. So this is going to bring in some more blue tones up where it's going to be cooler, and some pale green tones down here once it warms up. And it will also just break up the orange shimmer that we got from the Van Gogh, which we want in some spots, but we don't want everywhere. Okay. And then here, there's like a good drift of blue in that area. We're going to need some more of the other blues in there as well when we get to those. I'm basically just kind of going around the collection like in order, in the same order that I swatched them, and using one at a time. And then we'll probably need to go back in and, well, we'll definitely need to go back in and add some of ones that we have already done toward the end, but that is okay. Yeah, I definitely recommend music to cover up the annoying neighbor noises. I'm a big fan of dubstep for that purpose. And hello to Bonquette. Welcome. Welcome, welcome. We're playing with some Van Gogh collection from Fauve Cosmetics here. This is the Van Gogh Part 1 collection. Van Gogh Part 2 is yet to come. Coming 16th. August 16th. Okay, this one is Delirium. This one stays the color it is. This is a glow in the dark. So for this color, let's get some nice, because this is going to bring in some blues with that shimmer in addition to the greens that we already have in there. So we'll get some of that in there. And as I go along, I'm trying to sort of build up some, there's like some stripes, some sort of striping of color in the foreground of this that I'm going to start trying to build as I go here. I've already kind of been building parts of it, but there's sort of two directions of striping in this. So it's easy to get turned around when you get carried away painting it. All right, and then on this one, I think I want a fair bit of the blue shim. We're going to also reinforce this with some blue polish because there's a couple of blues in this collection that we'll be making good use of. And then down here, we're going to start bringing in some blues in there. Start bringing in some in here. And there's a big cloud of blue flowers up in this area that we're going to want to highlight. Okay. Heather, welcome. You made it at last. Gonna do some working and lurking, huh? That is always encouraged. Okay, I'm gonna use a little bit of almond blossom. I think I'm probably gonna end up adding more almond blossom toward the end, but I will bring in a bit of it now. I think it's gonna have more impact when I bring in later. So I'm not gonna do too much of it here. because I think to highlight some of the blue flower sections, we're going to end up adding in some little spots of white in a few spots. Remember I was talking about how we use the white and the black underneath to add some structure. We're going to have to do that with some of the flowers to get a good floral pop that actually has like some substance to it. All right, Cobalt Sky. Cobalt Sky, we're going to start bringing in some of this into the cypress trees, which have been somewhat neglected so far. We did a little bit of peacock moth, but I knew I wanted to do more of the blue for the cypress trees. Even though I think in the original painting they are not predominantly blue, they do have some blue tones in them, but also just in real life, cypress trees have a tendency to have a blue cast to them in some lighting. So I kind of want to bring that out, given that we are restricted with our color choices here. I'll just put a little bit on this olive branch as well. Literal olive branch. And this one is magnetic, but as I mentioned when I was working with peacock moth, I found that using the velvet magnet for this style of painting did not really do a ton. It didn't have a big visual impact, and so given how awkward it is to paint while holding that in my hand, it didn't seem worthwhile to really do that. Okay. So I'm going to add some blue up in here. And then there's a little cluster of blue here. And some in here. You see what I mean where I was talking about like how just like kind of random blobbing. Like when I was doing the structure, it was more like, you know, actually painting shapes. But with this, it's really sort of just like a fairly random blobbing situation, which kind of just eventually gets you close to where you want to be. Okay. You're doing your nails while watching. It does make it hard to type. You're not wrong. It's a good thing I get to talk while doing this instead of having to type. Okay. Next up, irises. This is another thermal, and I think she is blue, light blue. Hang on, let me. Yes, irises goes light blue. So this one goes more of like a slightly greener blue, closer to a turquoisey kind of color when it's in its warm state. So I do have to be a little bit careful with using this one because there's not a ton of purple in this painting, but purple can be useful for adding in some sort of a little bit darker slight contrast, especially since everything is so like everything is so green and translucent. Adding in the purple just kind of changes the tones more than really covering things and being predominantly purple, because we're sort of layering up different tones as we go along here. So it's going to darken things a little bit. It's going to change the saturation level of the green a little bit. But also I have to be careful with it because down in these areas, it's not going to stay purple most of the time. It's mostly going to be that turquoise tone. And so I need to be mindful of that when I'm using it for this. So I am going to add just a little bit in here. I need to make sure that I'm thinking about what that thermal is going to do when it is not being purple. If I focus it mostly on the tips of my nails, then I should be able to get that increase in depth and that tonal change from adding the purple tone. But if I bring it up in here, it's probably going to be mostly the turquoise. So I am focusing it mostly in the tips. I haven't done a ton of nail art with thermals. I have a couple of thermals that I have some plans to do some fun, like, you know, hidden design kind of things with them. But it takes so much more brain power to do nail art with thermals. You really have to think about what's going to happen. Okay. And then this one is another thermal. This one turns more of like a lilac-y. No, it's bluer than that. Periwinkle-ish. It's blurple. It's a blurple when it's warm, and more of an indigo when it's cold like this. So again, we're going to use a little bit of it to get some texture and contrast and interest in these planty greens. And I'm probably not going to use a lot of it in the area where it's likely to be warm a lot. Okay, now this one, I think, yeah, we're mostly going to do up here. Because I do want to be taking advantage of the purpleness of this purple. It is fun. But yes, definitely complicates things a little bit. Okay, and here it'll be okay if it's more that periwinkle along this. Okay. There we go. Next, frailty. Actually, I'm going to hold off on frailty, and you will see why. It's because it's so translucent that it's going to require some white under it to make it work. So we are going to use fractured light here. As I said, I'm going to use some on the path because this is just going to bring some different colors into the white without covering it up. And this is just an easy way for me to get some variation and texture on the white sections without having to futz about with them too much. So I'll do some there. I'll do some on the stone wall that comes in behind here. And I really like this topper because, as I said before, it really does such a good job of emulating the way that Impressionist painters deal with light and with whites in particular. So I think it's a really perfect one for this kind of collection. There we go. It kind of softens that white as well, makes it a little less stark. There we go. It's what you loved about Rothko nail art. Is thought and precision aren't needed, just lazy gradient and color blocking. Yeah. Yeah, the thermal transition in the teaser that Jess posted of the upcoming Rothkos is just so cool. Because the thing that I feel like Rothko is one of those painters that it's easy to point at and say, see, there's just, modern art is stupid and it's just paint blobbed up on a canvas and it's just, anybody could do that with a roller. And yes, anybody could do that with a roller, but there's a tension in the selections that he has made, the way that the colors sort of balance against each other, that if you just sit and stare at them, you can literally just sit and stare at them for hours. I have done this. They're so visually compelling. And there's something about the color choices and the textures and the way that they interact with each other. That's just, it makes me feel things, man. It makes me feel things. So, and the thermal element to that is just, it makes it extra exciting for me. Okay. Now we have come to the time. Art nerd, yes. It's about restraint and evoking a response. Yes, the colors vibrate. Yeah, they totally vibrate. Okay, so Pollock, I fucking hate. Now, I get it. I understand why people like Pollock. I truly do. I just don't like looking at it. I don't like looking at Pollock's work at all. I get what he was doing. I can appreciate it on an intellectual level, and I just don't enjoy looking at it. It is too noisy for my eyes. It is too noisy for my brain. And I want to close my eyes and look away from it because it's messy. It feels like, in cartoons, in like Peanuts cartoons and stuff, when someone is like, fuming, angry, whatever, frustrated, and they just have like a thought bubble with like just scribbles in it. That's what Jackson Pollock does to my brain. I don't like to look at it, but I get it. But Rothko to me is very doing the same thing, but in a very different way, in a way that to me feels like a calmer exploration of the same kind of energy. You know what I mean? I can sit and vibe in it. Your brain is noisy. Pollock makes you quiet. Yeah, I get it. I just don't like looking at it. It's like Jimi Hendrix. All right, I don't like listening to his music. I appreciate him. He's fucking outstanding, but I don't like listening to his music. I can't help it, man. Anyway, hot takes. Jimi Hendrix is Jackson Pollock. Okay. Now, I warned you I was going to use some little blobbies of white for parts of our flowers. So we have reached that portion of the program, and you will hopefully understand why I waited to do this part of the white instead of doing it at the same time as the more structured section. Because I really wanted to have the underlying structure already there. And then this is basically going to be to help things pop a little better in a few spots as I add the actual flowers. I think I want a little bit there. All right. A little more down here. Okay, and then in this section, part of this is going to be like individual flowers, and part of it is going to be sort of adding in more of that row structure that we see in this painting. And I want more of the blues in this area. There's a lot of like blue and blurple sort of flowers in the lower section of this painting. So I want to make sure that some of those get highlighted. And do. Oh, she's starting to dry out on me. She's getting goopy. Okay, and then I think I actually am going to do a little bit up in here because that green got a little too influenced by some of the orange underneath it. So I'm going to bring some green back in there, but with the white under it. Okay, so let's start with that. Actually, I think I'll use peacock moth for this, for that bit. The olive tree. I feel like the peacock moth is a good color for the olive tree leaves. So this is just going to help support, the white in this case just helps support the green so it doesn't get totally swallowed by the orange. Okay. And then in some other areas, we're going to have, there's kind of an interesting little purpley thing going on. And I'm going to try to mix a little Flare of Madness with a little Vanishing Violet and see if I can get this like sort of reddish, purplish kind of color that I'm seeing on a couple of the flowers. Like there's like a thing down in this area that has this weird, and I don't quite have the right color for it here. So I'm just gonna try to do a mix and bring that in. And a little bit down in here. And then I think we also have some of that up here where I put this white. So hopefully we'll get enough of the purple in this area, at least. Okay. And then down here, it's going to be more of the blue tones. So we'll use Almond Blossom for some of these flowers down here. And I don't want to completely cover up all of the white that I added either. I want some of the white to be able to breathe a little bit. Because flowers can have bright spots. That's allowed, right? And I'm going to use some of the Frailty in this area as well, which I have not used yet. But it should be good for some of these little flowers up front, partly because it's a nice soft color that is going to let a lot of the white through, but partly also because the reflective glitters should help sort of maintain that sort of sparkly effect that that the little blobs of color add. Just adding manual sparkle instead of just color sparkle. Now I also want some more of Lunar Halo for some of these parts. And this will pop a little more yellow over the white areas. Got some yellow in there. Got some yellow coming up in here. We're almost done, y'all. Can you believe it? All right, let's see. I do want a little bit more of some Flare of Madness, like around here. Just like some little, because I don't want to rely completely on the shimmer from Van Gogh to give us that orange, because there are definitely some orange flowers in this area. So at this point, I'm doing just actual dots for those flowers. I feel like this needs a little bit more Flare of Madness in this area. There we go. And maybe a bit more along here as well. Do we need anywhere else? Maybe a little bit down here. A little along this line here. It's amazing how much a little bit of orange adds. You finished your game, Mei Mei. Budgie finally loves you and you have exactly one Roselia. Is it Roselia or is it Rosalia? I don't know. Okay, what else do we need? Are we pretty close to done? I think we're pretty close. There's a couple more spots that I think I want to put a little bit more of peacock moth, and actually I am going to mix in just a tiny bit of black in with the peacock moth just to darken up the base just a little bit. I still want it to be greeny and blue flakes. I don't want it to be black, but I do want to give just a bit more darkness in there. We'll use a little bit up in here. But there's a couple other spots as well. Down in front where I feel like we need just a little bit more dark structure to hold things together well. Okay, so I'll put a little bit there. And I didn't do too much. It's just a little darker, just a tiny bit darker, tiny bit more opaque. But it should help a little bit with some of this structure here. Give it a little bit more of a rows of flowers, or I don't know if it's really rows of flowers or if it's like just you know, a little bit of a rolling field in the garden. So it gives that appearance. But yeah, we got a little more dark shadow in a few spots without adding in too much black. And then I think we're going to be finished once I'm done with this part. Oh, I'm running out there. I'm running out. I might need to mix up a little bit more. I do need to mix up a little bit more. The first pronunciation was correct for Roselia. I kind of feel like it should be Rosalia, you know, like... Sounds more like she'd bake me cookies instead of beating the shit out of me. You know what I mean? It was a little bit too much black for the amount of peacock moth there. We'll just add some more peacock moth. Y'all, I am kind of proud of us. I think we did a pretty good job, especially for the amount of time we've spent on this, which is not very much at all, really. It's been a pretty quick one. Given that we had to swatch out 13 polishes to start. Which is not a small number of polishes. All right. Get that dark bush there. I think we're done. I think we are done, y'all. Just need to do some cleanup. And then top coat. What do we think? Should this be matte or glossy? I mean, I can always do it glossy and take photos and then try it matte and take photos. Or vice versa, I guess. But I usually do glossy before matte. Because it's not hollow. So we're not going to lose anything in terms of like the, you know, the sparkle or the dynamism by making it matte. All these shimmers will still look beautiful matte. But it might be easier to see the detail if it's matte. But on the other hand, glossy also good. Yeah, it's not even 10 yet. I'm impressed. Sassy's voting matte. You never vote matte. You're not Pokemon. I can pronounce it however I want. Yeah, I guess so. Favorite cleanup brush? I'm very sorry to tell you that my favorite cleanup brush is the Dimension Nails brushes, which you can't get anymore. I'm sorry. This is my favorite cleanup brush. And yeah, Dimension Nails unfortunately shut down. But so you can't have that. I don't have a second favorite. I bought several of these. I have backups in the drawer because I was like, I can't. As soon as I found out she was closing up shop, I got backups of a couple of my staple jellies because she made just the most fantastic milky jellies. Just so good. So I got some backups of those and backups of my cleanup brush. Sorry. Yeah, until I got my hands on this one, my go-to cleanup brush was actually the Holo Taco one, which I don't even think I have that one anymore, but it was basically the same as this Polish and Beauty Expo one, except this one I ended up messing up and had to cut some things off, and now it's not straight anymore. So I used to use a straight wedge type one, and then I used an angled wedge one for a while, but it turns out I really just like having this shape. So I don't know what I'm gonna do once those finally die. Elf concealer brush, is it a similar shape to this one, Bonket? Sylvia, thank you. That's very kind of you. An angled eyeliner brush would probably work. Yeah. The only thing that I would say with brushes for nail cleanup stuff is that your synthetic brushes are never going to last as long as real hair. So as much as I know a lot of people prefer not to use animal hair brushes. I respect that. I get it. I totally understand it. And in fact, these are synthetic and they're very good, the Dimension Nails ones. But you do have to make sure that if you're getting a synthetic brush, it is designed to be used with solvents. Because if you're using a synthetic brush that has not been designed to be used with solvents, there's a good chance that it will get fucked up real fast. So you can actually just go to a regular art store and get something that has the right kind of shape and stiffness that works for you. And if it's made, say, for oil paints, it's going to be fine for this. You won't have an issue with it. It's a little more rounded, the e.l.f. concealer one. That would work fine for me then. All right, so let's go ahead and do a top coat. Here we are. Jess also sent me a quick dry top coat. Very kind. So we'll do a regular top coat, and then I will add matte top coat after this has dried, because I do not love doing matte on its own. I find it just doesn't cure everything quite as well. I always find I get like better results if I do a regular quick dry top coat first, let that dry down, and then do my matte top coat. Because if I do just the matte top coat, it always feels like it takes a really long time to dry, and I have to be so freaking careful with my nails in the meantime. It's very annoying. But yeah. So I might go ahead and take photos with it glossy just so that I have some. But I do think matte might be the way to go. Yeah, glossy first, then matte. Thank you, Heather. It's easy to paint like an impressionist if you literally can't do anything detailed because the scale is stupid. It turns out if all you can do is tiny blobs because the scale is stupid, then impressionism works real well for that. I might as well go ahead and clean this up. Y'all can enjoy my cleanup process here. Now the whole thing is all sparkly. So, Mei told me that the only damage she's seen on the resin palette is that the gold paint on the side eventually degrades a bit. But luckily, I don't care about the gold paint on the side. And I certainly haven't seen any degradation or issues with it. It's a little cloudy right now, while because the acetone sort of leaves that bit of residue. But if I also wipe it off with alcohol afterwards, it gets nice and clear again. You thought that was a tampon, and then you saw the pineapple? Yeah. Yeah, this is unfortunately the best grabber I've found. All the other grabbers that I've found are too small for for cotton buds or the cotton balls. They don't really grab nicely. But I had to cut the brand name off of it because we don't fuck with them. That's from the before times. All right, where's my mat? Also, I got this matte top coat last year PBE, not this year PBE. I got it last year PBE, I'm pretty sure. I think it was PBE. It's from Glisten and Glow, and I didn't use it until I finally ran out of my Holo Taco matte top coat. And I pulled this out of the drawer, and I was like, oh my god, why so yellow? so yellow. But it seems to work fine, so maybe I won't take photos of it glossy. Maybe we'll just go straight to matte now, since the top coat's dried enough, and then that way y'all can see the mattified version. But yeah, it's like, it's super yellowed now after spending a year in my drawer. I don't remember it being that yellow when I bought it. I'm quite confident it was not. But yeah, it doesn't seem to leave any discoloration on the nail, at least not that I've noticed. Maybe if I was like doing a stark white design, it might be noticeable, but it certainly hasn't been with anything that I've used it with. So, but it looks icky. Who makes the most superior matte top coat? You've only tried Mooncat. I've only tried Glisten and Glow and Holo Taco so far, so I don't really have a well-formed opinion on that. They're both fine. The Holo Taco one didn't yellow like that, I tell you that much. It worked great right up until I finished the bottle off. Yeah. Yeah, I don't go through a ton of matte either. I probably go through more of it than you do, Kat, because of the nail art stuff. Sometimes I do nail art and I go, no, this definitely needs a matte top coat. But yeah, I don't use it super frequently. Sneak gave you a Swamp Gloss one, which is also not yellow. Yeah, this one wasn't yellow when I first got it, but it just got super yellow. Welcome back, Ashley. The yellowing just adds a tone to the nail art like an old painting. Yeah, it's perfect. Perfect for this nail art. It's exactly what we need. Yeah, I think matte was the right call, y'all. I think you made the right choice because it still has all the shimmer and the glow and the little bits of reflective sparkle in there, but it doesn't have the like serious gloss reflective thing happening that makes it difficult to see all the colors. Most of your glitter smoothers have yellowed? Yeah, my so this is my glitter smoother from Glisten and Glow, and it has not yellowed nearly as much. It has yellowed a little bit. It's got some boogery qualities to it, but not nearly as badly as the, like, this is really this matte top coat is yellow. Like, it definitely was not like that at first, so. You've tried 4 or 5 matte top coats over the years. Which ones did you like best, Maymay? Yeah, Kat figured out that glitter smoothers are just regular nail polish suspension base. So it means that those are going to be the ones that don't have, these ones that don't yellow are going to be the ones that don't have like UV protective ingredients. So I would imagine that not this one, because this is actually a matte top coat, but although it's probably the same base that she uses for this So if it's yellowing, then that means it doesn't have benzophenone 1 in it, which is good because it means you can use it for your solar polishes without fear. Indie boutique-wise, Holotako wins. Drugstore mainstream OPI wins for matte top coats. Cool. I started with the best, apparently. I've been perfectly happy with this Glisten and Glow one as well. It's just that it yellowed weird, but I think it's fine for just having the thin coat. Yeah, probably her mica base doesn't have the UV blocker. But again, like, yeah, that means that your nail polish base can discolor and go yellow over time, which could be a problem for some colors. But for other stuff, it's not going to be an issue at all, and it means that it'll work better for your solars. So you're still using an ancient bottle of OPI? Yeah, I've never tried the OPI one. I have so few mainstreams, though. I don't really do the mainstream thing. It doesn't streak as much. Well, there you go. Would anyone like a cat's up display? Oh, and Budgie is actually kind of sort of facing the camera now, so let me turn that around. What a good girl. What a good little budgie cat. Oh, she's so blinky. Just the best little budgie. There she is. Oh, she doesn't want to get looked at. No, do not gaze upon me. All right, fine. Back to Jammy Dodgers. Well, we got a little bit. Such a good girl. She's like, I don't know why you woke me up like that, Mom. Oh, well. All right. So, this has been Fauve Cosmetics Van Gogh collection part 1. And part 2 is coming very soon, just a couple of weeks out. On August 8th, you will be able to order starting at noon Eastern the second part to the Van Gogh collection, which I, of course, have not been able to show you here because I do not have it. But I have this one, and you'll still be able to get this as well. Currently, all of these are available on the website, I believe. Don't think any of them are sold out, and they will remain available. I do not believe that they are planning on discontinuing them. So you should be able to pick up any of these when you pick up the Van Gogh Part 2 collection, if you do that. There's also some other fun stuff that's going to be coming that Jess has been sneaking on her Instagram, showing us some sneak peeks of stuff. So excited about all of those. And yeah. And I think so far, all of the previous releases are still purchasable. I don't think anything's been discontinued to my knowledge. So there's like tons of fun stuff, and you don't have to worry too much about FOMO with this stuff, so which I really appreciate. All right, that's going to be it for tonight. Thank you all for coming and hanging out with me, and hanging out with the cats and all of that good stuff. As always, it's been a pleasure, and you guys made good choices. I really like this Manny. It's really cute. I should probably do the other hand to match at some point, but I gotta take photos of this before I screw it up. So I'll probably be posting this in the next few days, so you can see all the high res photos of it. All right. Next week is magnets. Yes. Next week's stream is going to be messing with the nail thing, I think it's called. Magnet contraption. We'll figure that out live on stream. You can watch me get confused, and figure out how all of that works. And we won't just do the nail thing because I feel like that would be a very short stream. So we'll also play with some other magnet stuff. I have my my little spinny contraption that people wanted to get a closer look at, so I will show that, and sort of show you how I built it. So if anybody does not yet have a spinny contraption that they have built, you can sort of figure out something based on that if that's something you are interested in. But yeah, so in the meantime, if you have ideas for further other streams, anything you want me to see me do, go ahead and shove it in the comments or hit me up on Discord or whatever. And don't forget the liking and the subscribing and all of that good stuff. It is not dangerous the way I have done it, Bunket. Safety first, always. Always. I am too old to be fucking around with putting a goddamn magnet on a drill. I'm just not gonna do that.